Hi, this is Joani Schmeling of Health Promotion Council.
And my name is Lynn, and I'm a certified diabetes counselor.
And you are listening to White Canes Connect.
Hey there, PA Federationists. Welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. My name is David Goldstein, and joining me today is co-host and White Canes Connect creator, Lisa Bryant. Lisa, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing great, and I am excited to share that I am going to be a participant in the program we're talking about today. The program is a diabetes prevention program. It's a year-long coaching sessions with a diabetes coach, and our own Lynn Heights is one of the coaches. And we also talked to Joani Schmeling from Health Promotion Council.
Yeah, and they really had a lot of information on what goes into the program, how folks can get into the program, or if you want to be a coach in the program, what you need to do to get involved. It was a great interview, and Lisa, we're really excited for you to get going with it and hear your results from it.
Yes, and hopefully I will be reporting back with good news. But first, let's take a listen to Joani and Lynn talking about diabetes prevention.
Joani and Lynn, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, David, and Lisa for having Joani and I here today. We are so excited to talk with you about the diabetes prevention program.
Yes, I'm very happy. Thank you for this opportunity, David and Lisa. Again, happy that Lynn and I are here to share about the diabetes prevention program and how we can continue to support and help people who have prediabetes or are interested in learning more.
Right. Well, it is a very important topic. And we actually had another episode very, very recently with the Diabetes Action Network, which is a division of the National Federation of the Blind. And there were some real eye-opening statistics that they shared with us. Well, one, maybe a lot of people already knew, but diabetes is the leading cause of blindness and vision loss. Joani, I'll start with you. Are there any other statistics like that you'd like to share or amen to?
Yeah, so absolutely. It is definitely a high number of Americans across the country who have prediabetes and don't even know it. I think it's around 1 in 3, so about a third. In total, that's about 98 million adults have prediabetes. So it definitely is a huge issue. And again, like you said, not that many people even know that they have it.
Again, just, trying to sort of set the stage of what we're talking about here, how serious it is. I didn't know. So I always hear a lot of talk about what's your A1C, but only recently am I hearing now to know your your fasting glucose? Lynn, what are some other numbers that people need to be aware of?
It is the fasting glucose, and prediabetes is when your A1C is between 5.6 and 6.4. And what some people don't realize is your A1C is actually an average of about the last 3 months. So it's not the number for that day that you have the blood work done. It's really, an average over a period of time. You also need to be concerned about your cholesterol. And there's also a blood test that actually gives an amount of sugar. It's different than the A1C. And unfortunately, I'm drawing a blank.
It's a very serious topic. The numbers are startling. I am hearing things like I've heard some doctors even say there's no such thing as pre-diabetes. It's diabetes, and that sort of pre-diabetes stage is not to be dismissed, and it should be taken just as seriously. So that's what we're kind of talking about. But most specifically, we wanted both of you to share about this diabetes prevention coaching program which sounds amazing. And hot off the presses, I just got the email today that the program starts the week of the 26th, and I am in. I've already signed up, and I'm really excited to participate in this because my number is at that pre-diabetic stage. But Joani, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, what your role and your organization's role is in this diabetes prevention coaching program?
Absolutely. So like I said, my name is Joani Schmeling. I'm a program manager with the Health Promotion Council. We're located here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're actually a subsidiary organization of PHMC, or Public Health Management Corporation. They're kind of our parent company. And so across PHMC, there's a number of different public health initiatives that they take to ensure that they're serving their communities. They actually are the Public Health Institute for Pennsylvania and I believe Delaware as well. So they're, very on the forefront of a lot of public health initiatives, education, training, policy, research, you name it, they're involved in it. So specifically with Health Promotion Council, or HPC, as we often refer to it, we do a lot of work in chronic disease management. We help people get connected to direct programs and services, whether it's through our diabetes prevention program. We also have a number of other programs such as nutrition and active living, tobacco cessation, family services, workforce, sexual health, a lot of different programs and services, again, to make sure that the communities we're serving here in Philadelphia, but also across Pennsylvania and Delaware, are getting access to those services or know where those services are in their own community.
Okay, so your organization actually, this is your program.
No, so this program, the diabetes prevention program, was actually developed by the Centers for Disease Control,
Okay, that's what I thought.
CDC.
Okay.
So it's a nationwide program. It's been around since 2010. And it was developed, it's evidence-based. And so there was years of research that kind of showed the curriculum or the program itself over the course of the year that somebody's enrolled in it, and making specific lifestyle changes that can really prevent them from going from that pre-diabetic to actually developing type 2 diabetes.
So Lynn, you're usually on here wearing your federation hat, but today you're here as one of the coaches in the program. Tell us how did that come about? How did you come to be one of the coaches?
So PHMC actually reached out to Accessible Pharmacy, who I work for as doing sales and outreach and what have you, and asked if they had some individuals that would be interested in becoming lifestyle coaches. And one of the main reasons they reached out to Accessible Pharmacy was because of their work with individuals who are blind and visually impaired. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, blindness is a significant result of diabetes. So that's how I got involved. There was a 3-part set of training that myself and I have a co-partner, Marianne Grignan, that we did. Each session was like 3 hours long. And it was really very interesting. And, it was really pretty intense.
Speaking of intense, as you mentioned, it's a year-long commitment. Joani, why don't you walk us through how this is all structured? It's all virtual, correct?
So actually, no. So the program itself, like I mentioned, it is a full year, and it can be delivered virtually, so via a platform like Zoom or Microsoft Teams. It can be delivered in person, which obviously pre-pandemic, most organizations had groups of individuals that would come together and actually do the same program that you're doing virtually. They would do it in person at a community center or at a healthcare facility, wherever that program was being offered. It also can be offered via an asynchronous platform. So we call that the online delivery, where there are certain platforms available online where somebody has a coach similar to Lynn who's helping them through the program, but they're able to do the lessons on their own schedule. So it's great for individuals who maybe work, non-traditional hours or shift work or, just work different careers that,
Right.
A session that's hosted at 6 p.m. on a weekday maybe doesn't always work for them. So the program can be offered to kind of meet the scheduling needs of those individuals who are interested in the program. The program itself, again, it's a year long, and is scary when you hear that.
Yeah.
I always like to communicate it to people as it's actually only 22 weeks long in total.
Okay.
Each session is about an hour, so you can make these huge lifestyle changes in 22 hours out of the course of a full year, which when you think about it that way, isn't really that much time. It's less than a day. So it's broken down into kind of two sections. So you have the first 6 months of the program. We call that the core sessions, where the group of individuals, the lessons are done every week. So you meet every single week for roughly those 6 months. You cover 16 different lessons and topics, ranging from, what is like physical activity, nutrition, how do you manage sleep, stress, a lot of different topics like that. And then the second 6 months of it, we call that core maintenance. So the first couple months, so months, say 6, 7, 8, you meet every 2 weeks. And then after that, you meet every month. So once a month. And again, that leads up to 22 sessions in total. So again, it's about making those small but very impactful changes to how you're eating or how you're looking at your meals. How are you incorporating physical activity, managing your stress, different things that, have caused you to maybe gain some weight or not have great A1C numbers. So how can we make those small changes that then are actually impactful and things that you can actually continue to do after the program ends?
So is it possible if, let's say your A1C is great, but maybe you've got high stress levels, you don't get a lot of sleep, could that also play a bigger role if your A1C looks good, you're not 100% out of the woods with other factors, or no?
Yeah, so that's actually a great point. So with the program itself, like you mentioned at the beginning, Lisa, A1C is a big number that's always talked about. But there are other criterias that could make somebody eligible for this program that's not based on just their A1C. So if somebody has a high fasting blood glucose or one of the other kind of high ranges for those blood glucose tests that may indicate prediabetes, they could qualify that way. If somebody has a high body mass index or BMI and are considered overweight or obese, it's different factors that make somebody, on that verge of being pre-diabetic, especially if they haven't had an A1C done. There are a number of other factors that can go into making somebody eligible for the program.
And what's a number that's sort of danger zone when it comes to that fasting glucose number?
Yeah, so for fasting blood glucose, if it's anywhere between 100 and 125 milligrams per deciliter, that's kind of a range. If you hitting that, you may want to look at, have
Joining this program.
conversations with your provider, look at this
Yeah.
program.
Yeah. So, Lynn, as a coach, Joani just shared some of the things that you'll discuss, your stress, your sleep patterns. Talk about some of the goals and what do you do as a coach to help people get to those goals?
There's a lot of information that is provided through the program, and a lot of the information is very eye-opening. Like Joani mentioned, the activity level. So one of the goals that the program wants you to get to within the first 6 months is 150 minutes a week of activity. And, that could be anything from, walking or doing weights or, marching in place. I mean, there's dancing, there's anything like that.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that is to be, looking at what it is you're eating and really looking at it. One of the sessions deals with your dinner plate. Okay, so what should your dinner plate look like? Well, half of your plate should be a low carbohydrate vegetable of some kind, like broccoli, green beans, vegetables like that. And then the other half of the plate is split in half. So a quarter of it is your starch, and the other quarter is your protein. And when you think about starches, you can think about what kind of starch is it that you're going to eat. Because if you choose to eat a sweet potato over a white potato, you have a higher fiber content, which is much better for you than just your plain white potato. Okay, so it makes you think about those things. When we talk about stress, when we talk about sleeping, all those things are so important because it's not just what you exercise, how you exercise, and what you eat, but it's your whole lifestyle. Like Joani said, it is a lifestyle change. Making sure you get enough sleep. How are you dealing with your stress? How are you getting support? What is your support system? What do you do when you go out to eat? You go to somebody's house for a party, and you see, oh my goodness, everything on the table has a carbohydrate in it that you really are trying to be really good about. Well, once in a while, that's not bad to do, as long as the next day you realize you've got to pick it up and move forward. Or if you're asked to bring something to the party, bring something that's healthy that you can eat.
You help people with strategies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a cohort. So in this group I'm working with right now, I have 6 individuals, and they've been really faithful since we started in September. And they've really come together as a group. They also share resources. So they'll send me maybe different websites or links for vegetarian meals. And so I just go and share that with the group. And, everybody throughout the past 7 months has been doing that. I mean, they've at least done it once. So it's been really, really awesome. It's like, I'm not alone. There's these 5 other people that are going through the same thing I'm going through. And we can work together to do this. And the thing is, too, is to keep a positive attitude. Because, one day you get on the scale and you might be down 3 pounds. And the next day or the next week you get on the scale and you're up 4 pounds. Well, that happens, but don't let it get you down, because Tomorrow's another day.
So you had mentioned that you started with a group in September, and from Joni, she said it's a 22 sessions. Do you do more than one group at a time, or are there's a lot of other coaches? And I don't know, Lynn, if you want to answer that, or Joni, either of you.
Well, I think like Joani said, this is a nationwide program. So there are lots of coaches doing things. So Marianne and I have been working with our individual groups since September, and we will be starting a second group the end of February. So we'll be starting that group with session 1. The group that I've been working on since September, next Tuesday, we will be working on session 19. So we have another 2-week break in session 20, and then we'll go to once a month.
I'll add in there too, depending on the program, like Lynn said, you meet once a week. And so depending on the coaches and their schedules, if they're full-time, if they're volunteers, if they're part-time, they may have multiple cohorts going at one time. We help support, a lot of organizations across Philadelphia, southeastern Pennsylvania, Delaware. So if there's somebody, say, in the city who's interested in a program, we can help them connect to something that's going to be starting soon. And so there's always different organizations offering on different schedules, delivering them, whether it's in person or via Zoom, to again kind of meet the needs of the people that we're trying to reach. We also work with some organizations that offer the program in Spanish. So we've been able to really expand access there as well. And I know across the country, they offer it in other languages as well, again, depending on the needs of the community, which I think is a great thing about the program.
So do you meet as a group always, or is there the one-on-one, like just me and my coach component, or both?
We meet as a group, but we also provide an opportunity for makeup sessions. So Marianne and I generally are working in concerts. So we're doing the same session that week. So if someone can't make it to my Tuesday group, they may go to her Thursday group. But if neither one of those work, what I've been doing is I'll try and connect with them at another time and just kind of review what the session was, some of the things we discussed. I'll share some of the things that some of the other participants brought up, and we'll go from there. I also want to mention that Accessible Pharmacy is also starting a cohort using American Sign Language.
That's really making that, like, that's taking the word accessible to its literal limit. I mean, that's great. That's absolutely great that you're so widely open like that. So again, with the goals, are there points in the program where you check in? Like, do you have to report your weight for the week? Or do you have to report,
yes,
the last few days I haven't slept, like what's the accountability part of checking in with these goals?
So my group meets on Tuesday, and I always send my group an email the Friday before just to kind of check in. Hi, how you doing? These are some resources, if I've gotten resources that week. And then on Monday, the following Monday, I will email them the participant session. And I will also remind them that tomorrow morning you need to email me your current weight and how many minutes of exercise you've done in the last week. And I keep a spreadsheet that the only place that goes is I need to report it to Zach so that he can put the numbers in for the CDC.
Okay.
And that's what we do. We do look at when you talk about goals, in addition to the 150 minutes of exercise, a 5 to 7% weight loss. That's an individual thing. So each individual gets to decide what they want to do. I don't make that decision for them.
Okay.
Their goal is to make that goal in the first 6 months.
Mm.
It may happen, it may not. But if it doesn't happen, so you keep working on it.
Do they come so at the start of the program, are you checking in current weight, current A1C or glucose? Are those kind of numbers reported so you could know what you're starting with?
Yeah. So to start the program, we look at, what is your current weight? If you have, whether it's an A1C, a fasting blood glucose, see what those are. Because like Lynn said, we do have to report all of this to the CDC because it is an evidence-based program. So they look at, are individuals meeting those weight loss goals? Are they meeting those physical activity minutes? Because that's what the program was designed to do, is focus on those two metrics. But obviously, like Lynn said, everyone can kind of set their own individual goals. So if they want to lose more than X amount of body weight, or increase their physical activity, or just be more mindful about their eating, that's what the program is designed to do, because every individual's body is different. Every individual's reasoning for joining the program is different. So again, the coaches, us as an organization, we just want to give people the tools so that they can make those changes that they see most will benefit them.
So do you work in conjunction with the folks who are in the program? Do you work in conjunction with their doctors? Can you order a blood test as the program goes on? Hey, let's check your A1C, or let's check your fasting glucose. How does that play out? Or do you just check it at the end? How does that all work out?
So it depends on the organization itself that's delivering the program. We work with both, healthcare entities. So it may be, a doctor, a nurse, a nutritionist who maybe is able to actually order or see that person as their provider. We also work with a lot of community-based organizations. So they, they're community-based, so they're not necessarily directly tied to a healthcare provider. So we often put the onus on the individual to make sure that, they're checking in with their provider. They also know their provider the best, so they can, talk to them, say that they're enrolled in the diabetes prevention program. If they are pre-diabetic, hopefully their doctor is, scheduling them to get their A1C checked on a regular basis. So then they'd be able to kind of see if, they're making progress in the right direction.
You had mentioned earlier about the BMI. Let's say 5 to 7% of somebody's weight loss doesn't get them below that 25 BMI, which is, I guess, overweight. Do you then encourage more, or do you just say, okay, let's just get started and see where it goes?
That's a good question, because again, like BMI is, it's one of these factors we look at, but often, it may not be entirely reflective of somebody's body composition. If somebody has a lot of muscle obviously weighs more than fat, so they may weigh more, but it may be more muscle. And so I think that's kind of where somebody would go to their provider to really assess, my BMI still is on that higher end, but I've lost weight. Do I need to still continue to take these initiatives, take what I've learned from this program and lose more weight? Or are we going to look at, other factors like my overall cholesterol, triglyceride levels, A1C, and use those to kind of make better healthcare decisions?
Lynn, you and I have talked about this program, and I was initially under the assumption that it had something to do with being in the federation or even vision loss. It has absolutely that is not a prerequisite at all.
No.
Can you just make sure if people are clear about how widely open this program is? What are some of the qualifications?
There are several different qualifications. So, you can be over the age of 45. You can be overweight. You can have a family history of diabetes. You can be a member of an ethnic group that is predisposed to diabetes.
What are some of those groups? I'm just curious.
African American, Hispanic, Asian American, Asian Pacific Islander.
So a lot of the factors that Lynn was mentioning are outlined on what we call the pre-diabetes risk test.
Yeah.
So it's about, I think, 7 to 9 questions that kind of ask, like Lynn said, about your family history. Do you have a history of diabetes in your family? History of heart disease? Are you considered overweight? Are you over the age of 45? And that, again, was developed by the CDC, and then it gives you a score. So, individuals that score, 5 points or higher on that, we consider them high risk. And so that could be a qualification for enrollment into the program. So in addition to kind of those factors, there are 4, qualifications or eligibility factors that every participant has to meet. They have to be 18 years or older. This program, it was designed for adults. Obviously, childhood obesity is a huge issue too. But this program was only looked at individuals who are adults. So they have to be 18 or older to participate in any DPP program. Again, they have to have a BMI that's over 25. It's a little bit lower for those that identify as Asian, just because of body composition. It's because it's pre-diabetes that we're addressing. They can't have a diagnosis of type 1 or type 2 diabetes already. And then finally, they can't be pregnant. Because obviously, if you're a woman and you're pregnant, your body composition is very different than you normally are.
There's one more too. If you've ever had gestational diabetes,
Oh yes,
you would be eligible. And Accessible Pharmacy can have participants from all over the country participate in our program. It's not just limited to individuals who live in Pennsylvania or Delaware.
I feel like we've shared such kind of alarming statistics, some really kind of not bad news, but just, things that we need to get on top of and take care of. Are there some success stories from the program that either one of you can share?
So yes, I can actually share a success story that I learned last Tuesday from one of my participants. When she started, her A1C was 9.1, and this individual happened to start the program and was already diagnosed with diabetes, but we felt the information was very important. So we said, sure, just come on aboard. She recently went and had blood work done, and her A1C is now 6.4.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Now, how long has she been in the coaching class?
Well, we started in September.
Oh, she's at that cohort. Okay. Wow. That's pretty good.
Incredible.
Wow.
And they've reduced the amount of insulin she needs, obviously, she's
fantastic.
So, that's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Joani, any for you that come to mind?
Yeah, so even though I've gone through the training, so I'm also a certified coach, I haven't facilitated a program like Lynn has. I work a lot more on the admin side of things, but for a lot of some of the programs and projects I've worked on, We actually have a cohort that's finishing up the end of this month. It's been with an employer group, and so we've used the asynchronous version of the program. And so we've seen half of the participants that were enrolled in it. It was a pretty big group that started. Half of them are going to be completing the program, completing that full year. And I believe 11 of them hit different milestones with the amount of weight loss, ranging from 16% weight loss from their original weight to even, 1 to 2%. For some individuals, that's a huge, step in the right direction.
Well, that's great. I'm excited. That person achieved so much in just a short time. So I hope I can, now that I've put myself out there as being a part of this, I have to succeed in it. Like, how embarrassing if you check back and I haven't made any good progress. So talk about a little bit of pressure. Are you always looking for coaches? What does a coach need to have? You'll get the training, but what do you need to come to this program with?
To be a coach, even though you are talking about, diabetes prevention, it is a health and wellness topic. You don't have to have any background in sciences, healthcare, any of that. As long as you're a passionate individual who wants to, help guide people to making changes. There's a lot of different organizations across the country that offer the training, because there are individuals who are what we call master trainers. So they've been trainers for a long time. So they're the ones that then train individuals like myself, like Lynn, in the program. And so we're always able to help connect individuals to some of these training entities if they are interested in becoming a lifestyle coach or learning more about the program. That's where we as HPC can kind of help connect individuals to that more workforce side of things, as well as actual programs.
My education was, working with groups. And as Joani said, yes, passion is a very big part of it. And you need to be positive. You need to be willing to talk to people. You need to be willing to meet people where they are and not make them go where you want them to go. I would love to say that everybody in my group lost 50 pounds. Well, that's not the reality. The reality is that what they desired to do is what they achieved. And that's what I celebrate with them all the time. They have my phone number. They can call me anytime. I try and send emails out every week, even now that we're like on this every 2-week thing. I still work to send out emails on that midweek to stay connected. I think that's really, really important. And, I think it's important to let people talk. So sometimes, like, there are some things every session that I need to share with the group. But then I think it's also important that the group shares with each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's really kept these 6 people coming back every week, is they've been able to have the opportunity to share with each other the good things and the unfortunate things.
Do you limit the class size so that it does stay that intimate?
No, the Thursday group started out much larger. What they did was they actually asked the participants which day worked best for them. And so, I've had these 6 people. One person sort of added in the middle, and she's been a little hit or miss. The Thursday group, I think, dropped off a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure. I try not to listen in on that group. My husband's in that group. And I want, I want him to do his thing because I can't make this happen for him.
Yeah.
He's got to make this happen for himself.
Is there a limit to how many people can be in a cohort? Because I would imagine that can, if you're the one coach for a group, I would imagine, and if you're doing more than one cohort at a time, wouldn't that be a little overwhelming?
Yeah, and I mean, there typically isn't a limit to a cohort because unfortunately, with a program like this, where it is a year, you unfortunately have people that will drop out. And so we usually, if you have, say, 15 people start the program, you'll usually see about, 4 or 5 of them drop out. I think you usually try and, encourage more people to join, knowing just the unfortunate fact that life happens for different people.
So the people, if people were to drop off, and let's say it's not 3 years later, within a reasonable amount of time, can they come back in and pick up where they left off, or do you kind of have to start from scratch?
You really have to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the commitment.
Yeah.
To the program.
Yeah, and it gets tricky, especially Lynn mentioned there are things called makeup sessions that you can do to cover topics that you missed out on. And, that's a lot for a coach, if you're doing it in person or via Zoom to catch somebody up, especially if, say, they missed,
Right.
6 weeks of class. It's really, we
It's a
try and
commitment.
encourage people to stay and when you go in, you're committing to making this change. And if it's
Right.
not the right time now, maybe, in 6 months, you'll be in a better position to do it. And you could join another cohort that's starting.
You had mentioned foods earlier, Lynn. Are there any things, let's say you enjoy margaritas? I'm asking for a friend.
I was going to say there wouldn't be any little subtle reference to anyone on this call, would there?
So how does alcohol play a part? Can someone still enjoy a drink from time to time if they are, obviously, if they don't, you don't encourage them to start. But if somebody does like that when they go out sometimes, is that still okay, or how does that all work?
You can continue and you can have a drink. What you have to do is you have to include the calories that drink contains in your calorie count for that day. So, you have to make an adjustment for that. The other thing is, like I said earlier, you might want to have that ice cream sundae and you're really craving it. And the hardest thing in the world is to really want something and then keep telling yourself, oh no, that's really bad. I can't eat that. Oh no, I can't eat that. Go and have the ice cream sundae and start over tomorrow.
This is a lifestyle change program. So we're not trying to make drastic changes in somebody's life that they're not going to be sustainable. So, if it's part of somebody's life to, they enjoyed ice cream sundae, don't have one every night, but maybe, once a week or once every 2 weeks, if you enjoy your margaritas and don't have them every night, or when you go out, maybe have only one versus 2. And so kind of making those changes that aren't impacting your life so drastically that you can't sustain them for, the rest of your life or for the next, 5 to 10 years. Because we're all human. We all, enjoy what there is in life. So we don't want to make it unbearable.
Maybe you'll have that margarita instead of dessert.
Exactly.
So, Joani, in case you didn't pick it up, margarita is my favorite drink, and David's very subtly calling me out.
So basically what we're saying is Lisa's going to lose weight and save money.
I think this program is so exciting. I have to admit the year-long commitment, it does on a surface, it sounds like, oh my gosh, a year of weekly meetings. But the way it's structured, it's a lot more flexible than that. And it's not that much of a time commitment considering the potential reward if you do stay committed to it. So I think people need to wrap their head more around the potential goal and benefit more than anything. That should sort of drive, your motivation. And I'm so glad that we're able to get you guys on to talk about this as a new cohort begins. I believe February 26th is that week that new cohort starts. So anyone who wants to get interested and sign up for that, how should they do that?
So anybody who wants to get more information about the program, they can send an email to info, I-N-F-O, at accessiblepharmacy.com. And Alexandra Luzier, who is managing the program on the administrative level for Accessible Pharmacy, will reach out and share information.
And Joani, your organization rather, has a lot of other programs, even besides this one. You mentioned some earlier. If people want to know about more of your services, how should they contact you?
If people are interested in learning about a lot of the other programs that we offer, or if they're interested in the diabetes prevention program, but maybe the cohort starting on February 26th doesn't work with their schedule, or they're not ready, or they want to, like I said, get enrolled in maybe a nutrition program. We also offer some other self-management programs for individuals that have chronic disease, chronic pain. If they do have diabetes already, we have a diabetes self-management program that we can offer. We run a referral hub, so individuals can call our referral hub. The number is 215-608-1477. And they can leave us a message. They could text into that number if they want to find out more. Or they can also email us at programinfo@phmc.org.
Before we let you go, and David, I don't know if you have any last thoughts. This is something that I'd love to get each of you to answer, because I hear a different answer every time I ask this question. Is diabetes reversible? Joani, you say?
That's a loaded question because there's many different types of diabetes.
Okay.
So
maybe I should stick with the pre-diabetes because that's what this program is addressing.
Yes. So pre-diabetes is reversible if individuals make those lifestyle changes. Depending on the individual, I myself, I'm a type 1 diabetic, so it's not reversible. And, some individuals that have type 2 diabetes, sometimes they are able to not necessarily reverse it, but they're able to, decrease a lot of the medication that they're on, or be able to manage it without a lot of medical interventions. But prediabetes can be reversible for individuals.
Makes sense. Lynn, you agree, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are always, Accessible Pharmacy is always, putting together a list for another cohort. So even if it doesn't get out for the 26th, it can get out and, people can call or email Accessible Pharmacy and get on the list for the next cohort.
I'm excited to get started, and I am expecting, especially because we are approaching Lent and I'm giving up sugar for Lent. So I am expecting some results just because of that commitment right there. But I will report back. But thank you. Thanks for coming on and sharing this. And hopefully we will have some more success stories to share.
Yes. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Lynn and Joani for stopping by and talking about the diabetes prevention program. Lisa, diabetes is a big thing that a lot of folks have to worry about.
It really is. And we know from some of our own federationists, they ignored warning signs, and unfortunately, that did lead to vision loss. So, this is an opportunity. If you have already been told that you are in that pre-diabetic stage, this is a great opportunity to get around that and start making some real changes. Because, as I said, when talking to Joani and Lynn, it sounds like a huge commitment, oh gosh, a year, out of my life you're going to take from me. But look at the rewards, an accountability partner or two, depending on the size of your group, possibly getting those numbers down and finding a plan that fits your lifestyle, your schedule, and something you can stick to. So really the rewards far exceed what looks like a daunting commitment.
They really do. And it's so important to have those other folks there in the program with you to encourage you and maybe even make it a game where, hey, I dropped this amount of weight or I did this or whatever. And then you have that drive, because the drive has to come from you to make it work, whether it's with what you eat or with exercise. And it's got to come from within you to get it done.
Is that the competitor in you, David?
It is. I make everything a game. Everything is a game to me. And just for fun. I mean, it would just be a fun time to say, hey, I beat you, and then go out and eat some mac and cheese or, or whatever it might be.
You know what else I like about this program is that it is more about changes you can make without necessarily upping your medication. Because that's really changing your foods and your life, your exercise and all of that. Those are the commitments.
The food is such a big thing. And again, that's got to come from you. I used to be a fatty. I was never diabetic or pre-diabetic, but I weighed a lot, 235 pounds. I now weigh about 170 pounds. And my doctor told me, I don't care what you do, you have to eat 1,500 calories a day or less to drop the weight. I did that, and I realized quickly that eating that ice cream sundae that Lynn spoke of doesn't leave you much room to eat anything else throughout the day. So I quickly said, well, if I eat X number of grams of cauliflower and X number of grams of broccoli, that keeps me full, and I still have a little bit of room left at the end of the day to have a little bit of chocolate or have a little bit of ice cream sundae, and you can still have all the things that you want, and you do drop the weight. I lost roughly about 75 pounds all told. And if I can do it, I know anybody can do it, including you, Lisa. I think you can do it.
And you have kept that weight off for how long now?
I was told by my doctor in December of 2009 that I had to lose weight. And she told me initially, she said, just lose, I forget how many pounds, 10 pounds. And I said, well, what's my goal? What's my weight goal? And we talked a lot about BMI in the episode. Was to get my BMI below 25. And we calculated what that should be. And I said, all right, well, I'm just going to go for that. I don't need to worry about making these small goals along the way. You want me to commit to it? I'm going to commit to it. And over the next year or so, maybe it was only about 9 months, I dropped the majority of the weight. Now, I actually weighed a lot less, to the point where I was probably another 15 pounds lighter than I am now, but we were going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. And we both missed that. Liz and I both missed that, but her schedule just made it impossible for us to do that. And what people don't know who are listening, during this entire episode, even though I'm tethered by a 6-foot cord connected to my headphones, I paced back and forth and got nearly 2,500 steps in the hour that we were speaking to Lynn and Joani. So I try never to stay still. I do stay still once in a while when I sit down to eat dinner. I do not sit to eat breakfast or lunch, though. And people find that weird, and probably people find me always moving weird, but I just keep moving. And it's so important to do that. It doesn't have to be running a marathon, running around the block. Just walk around your house. I have a small house, but I get a lot of steps in each day, because when I'm on the phone, I walk around. When I'm outside with the dog, I walk around. When I'm on a podcast, even though I'm tethered to the desk, I still walk around.
Yeah, I think you're right, David. Food is key. So I'm glad that they talk about all of these other ways that we can get this under control. It's within our reach. And I am looking forward to, we'll have to figure out what makes sense in terms of how often I share But maybe after the first month, I'll just report back on how the program is going.
As long as it's better than what you reported back, as long as it's better than what you reported back with the plant.
Yeah.
When we had,
oh yeah.
when we had Sue on.
Yeah.
As long as it's better than that, the results are okay.
Yeah. So folks, hopefully this has gotten you interested if you do need this sort of support. Again, like I said, it's within reach. So reach out to Lynn or the number she provided, the email address rather that she provided, and let's all make some better choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Again, we're always looking out for or waiting for you to send us some feedback on our show, maybe some suggestions for an upcoming show. If you've decided that you want to join this program, let us know. And you can email us at whitecanesconnect@gmail.com.
Or give us a call at 267-338-4495. You've got up to 3 minutes. You can leave your name and town. If you do leave a voicemail, let us know what you think about this episode, what you love to eat and you might miss if you started something like this. It's okay. You can still have a little more later on, just not as much as normal. Again, 267-338-4495. Please give us a buzz. Let us know what's happening with you or what you'd like to see on an upcoming episode.
In the meantime, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. Take care.